All right, it's 6:05 here. We're going to go ahead and get started with the presentation. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming today. This is the public meeting. It's actually the final public meeting for the proposed determination in the Provo City North Subdivision. So my name is Christopher Stallard. You can call me Chris. I'm one of the engineering managers for the Utah Division of Water Rights Adjudication section. So I was in charge of this book. I'm one of two of the engineering managers. The other one's not here today. I'll just point out a couple people that are here today with me. We have Chase McDonald, the assistant state engineer. He's over the whole adjudication section. We have Mike Ferguson, one of our assistant attorneys general. Emily McKay, another assistant attorney general. Luke DeBernardi, one of our engineers who worked on this book. Jordan Hartley, who is one of our environmental scientists working on this. And Ryan Furlong, who is is the leader of the scientists in the adjudication section. So just for those of you who may be tuning in online, and for those here as well, this is being recorded on Google Meet. We will be posting this video on our YouTube channel as well, so you can access it there. It should be up either tomorrow or on Monday. And just for those online, we're using my computer, so Christopher Stallard is the computer we are using for streaming. So if you want to set that as a pin, you can pin it, and you can also change your layout with the 3 dots at the bottom. You can change it to spotlight to maybe see me a little better. If anybody has any questions online, if you have questions here, please hold them to the end and we'll have a Q&A session. People online, feel free to put them in the chat. One of our staff will read them to me, and I will try to repeat online questions if we do have any so that people here hear them as well. So yeah, I think with that housekeeping out of the way, we'll get started here. So I guess I will say as well that this proposed determination was published on December 19th, 2024, a few weeks ago. We'll talk a little bit more in detail about that. All right. So yeah, and here's the agenda. So we're going to talk about the adjudication process, just quick. We're not going to go into great detail here about the adjudication process. We do have videos about that occurred earlier in the process that kind of go over everything. We're kind of at one of the final stages, our proposed determination to the court of what the water rights are going to be. We'll talk about how to find the proposed determination. It was on the notices we mailed and was in the newspaper, but we'll talk about it again. I'll put the links up for everybody. And then we'll just go through the proposed determination. We'll go through what's in that, and just all the different parts of it and what you can see in there and what it means. And we'll talk about the hydrographic survey maps as well, which we don't file them with the court, but we do publish them in tandem with the proposed determination for informational purposes. And then we'll have a Q&A session. And if you think of any questions after today, feel free to email, and we'll put up some other contact info at the end as well. All right, so what is a general stream adjudication? Why are we here? So it's an action in state district court, joins all the water users, including state and federal agencies, as well as the state engineer, which the state engineer is the Division of Water Rights. It joins them all together in this action. It's governed by State Code Title 73, Chapter 4. And basically, we're determining the nature and extent of all existing water rights within each river drainage. So why are we doing this? So we're trying to bring all claims onto the record, especially claims that were for uses before statute was established. So for surface water, that's 1903, call those diligence claims. So that's for use that occurred before 1903. We want to make sure those get on the record, get recognized as proper water rights. Underground water claims is for underground water, which was 1935. So uses occurring before 1935, we want to make sure those get on the record. Federal reserve rights, if federal entities have reserved land for certain purposes, we want to make sure we bring those on the record. So we kind of handle this in one suit, prevent a multiplicity of suits, as we say. And we're just trying to order and clarity to the whole picture of water rights in the area. So another part of this is we want to remove and reduce rights which have been partially forfeited through non-use. There is a non-use statute in Utah code. If it hasn't been used in 7 years, it can be subject to both partial and full forfeiture, depending. And then ultimate goal of this is we'd like to get a final comprehensive decree from the court on all the water rights in this area, and then the matter is essentially settled. So that's why we're here. We have now published our determination to the court, and that's what we're here to talk to you about today. So this is just a quick, looks like a lot. We talk about it a little more in some of our earlier meetings, which are on our YouTube channel. But this is the whole adjudication process, and you can kind of see where we are in the process. So yeah, so we started with the petition. Let me advance a little bit here so you can see actually the dates. So yeah, technically adjudication start from a petition from someone in the public, and that this started a long time ago, 1944. I don't know if you can see the dot, but yeah, there we go. Notice summons. We had a public meeting like this, an initial public meeting to discuss this whole process back in August 2019. Sent claims to everybody. That's what the mint kind of green here is the initial opening, letting everybody know we're coming. Here's what we're doing. And then we send everybody claims in this blue area. That's what that process is. And then we had any rights that didn't get claimed ended up on a list of unclaimed rights, LUR. That occurred back in 2020, August of 2020. And we had a public meeting for that. That has already been decreed. That's over. So then we issued a final summons. And then we began the kind of the meat and potatoes of our work in 2019, 20 through, last year when we finally wrapped it up. We investigated all the claims we received. And then the sum result of our work here, of all that claim investigation, probably people in the audience will remember dealing with us as we investigated your rights. But we are now publishing what we found in this proposed determination. And so an important thing to keep, and we'll talk about this again, but just to take note of, if you have any objection to what you see in the proposed determination, you have 90 days from the date of publishing to file that. And I'll talk about it again a little later just to emphasize it. But that date, because we published on December 19th, 2024, 90 days from then is March 19th of 2025. So that's an important date to remember. Public meeting is today, January 9th, and then final step is any objections that do come in, we do need to resolve them. And that can take, it just depends how long as we work through that, it can take varying amounts of time, and then we'll get a final decree from the court. All right. So then I'll talk a little bit about, this was in your notice, but let's just talk about it again, how to access this. So where is this online? So it should have been so we should have mailed notice, and hopefully that's the people here received this, was any water right owners listed on of our records, the records of the state engineer, anybody who submitted a claim, even if you weren't the owner of record, if you filed a claim with us, you should have received the notice about this PD being published, and any registered agents for any corporate entities in the area, and any counsel of record who filed an appearance in the court. So that's just who we've mailed notice to, did our best to mail notice to all those parties. And then here's, like I said, this should have been on the notice that I was just talking about should have been on there, but there's this hyperlink URL. This will take you directly to the PDF, Provo North PD in this URL, if you put in the URL. We do have hard copies at the office for a fee if you'd like that. And it has already been filed with the court on December 19th. And then we'll talk a little bit more about what are hydrographic survey maps. We'll talk a little bit more about them, showing an example, but you can also find them at this URL right here. I'll show those again at the end. And again, they're on the notice we mailed. All right, and so we'll kind of dive in and start talking about what's in the proposed determination. What does it look like? If you hadn't had a chance to look at it, or if you have and wondering what the heck does this all mean, we're going to kind of go step by step through it all and show you all the different components. I see some people taking pictures. I'm just going to pause a second. Okay. All right. So then, of course, starts with the title page. So this just talks about it has the civil number. We're in the Provo River Division here. This is the Provo City North Subdivision. So as we do the adjudication of the state, I guess I should have said that a little earlier. As we do the adjudication of the state, we are subdividing the state into more manageable areas for us to investigate. This is one of our smaller subunits, the subdivision. So this is area, and if I refer to book number or number for this, it's area 55 and book 7. So sometimes it'll be referred to as 55-7 or book 55-7. It's just a delineator or a naming nomenclature for this area. So yeah, so this is the district court that has jurisdiction and where we filed it. This is the hydrologic division. I guess I just explained that in the subdivision name. And there's the area and book numbers. So that's just what's on the title page. Next page, this is the notice to water users. And this kind of just explains what's going on and what code required us to do this. And there's also, again, the civil case number. That'll be important. I'll talk about that a little more in just a second. Importantly, on this page is the instructions on filing an objection. So if you do have an objection, and I'll blow this up again, if you want to take pictures of that, on the next slide, I'll make them bigger. On how to file the objection. I'll talk a little bit more about that. So that's just that paragraph just blown up more and the address to send it to, but This is how to file an objection. It doesn't, I want to emphasize that you do need to put the civil number on that objection that you file with the court. And I put the civil number at the bottom here again. So just so it's emphasized, but it's also on the front page of that PDF of the PD. All right. Oop, I think I skipped one there. And then after the notice to water users, there's then the preamble, which explains all the sections and kind of the different, basically what is our activity in the area, how we're defining what beneficial use of a water right is. It's all kind of elucidated here and explained. An important section of this preamble is the prior decree section. As some of you probably know, the elephant in the room in terms of prior decrees is the Provo River Decree, which was actually in 1921. And it wasn't totally comprehensive. You know, that's why we're coming through and doing this general stream adjudication of all the water rights. But we do consider the Provo River Decree as it appropriated all the water in the Provo River. So it's very important. It's a key part of our adjudication in this area. And so this section just explains a little bit. It doesn't go into exhaustive detail about how that decree allocated water or anything, but it does explain how the decree has a class structure and the different divisions, like the Wasatch Division above Provo Canyon and the lower division down here in the Provo City proper. And then I think in there is a link. There's the direct link to our website actually right here, if you'd like to look at the decree yourself. And then there is another decree, it's more of a minor one, but Rock Canyon is in this area. So there is the 1894 Rock Canyon decree. A few of the rights do involve that. And so we make mention of that as well, just same idea, just to make sure we know that we have to adhere to that decree or we are. So, and then I just put a little note here too. If you go to our website, go to the top, go to programs, go to adjudication, and then decrees, you can also find all the decrees in the state, including these. So yeah. All right, and then onwards, the next one is the location map. So this is just where the area is situated in the state. Pretty straightforward, shows where the county is, where it is within the county, and then it shows basically the boundary. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say there, but just if you're curious, how we actually define this boundary is the Provo west side, 800 north on the south side, and then the actual hydrologic boundary of Rock Canyon drainage in its watershed. The boundaries of all those things together is basically what resulted in Provo North's boundary. But that map's just in there, so talk about it real quick. All right, then we kind of get into the main parts of where all the rights are listed of the PD. So we start with a priority schedule. So that's where we're listing all the rights by their source. So this is just an example page. This is the first page. There's more than one. But so you just see there's Dutchman Spring, Mud Spring. These are just examples from the first page. And of course, Provo River is a lot of them. It's organized by source. And then within that source, what are the priority dates? Because of course, we're a prior appropriation doctrine state. Further back in time, your priority date is more beneficial to you. You're first in time and first in right. So it's just how the rights are organized within each source and what are the higher priority ones. Oh, I guess I could have clicked through this. Sorry. So yeah, we'll just go through the part of this: the water source, the priority date. So then either if the water right is a flow rate in cubic feet per second, or if it's an annual volume in acre foot or acre feet, and then the water right number. And then who's our owner of record? So just for clarification, this is the owner of record on our, and we'll talk about this again, but it's on our records. We're not a office of records, so we have to rely on what's brought to us in terms of records. So some of these might still need title updates and that kind of thing. So then we get into, after the priority schedule, there's then the description of water rights. So this is actually, so before you saw the water right numbers, right? So then, but it doesn't say a whole lot about it other than the flow rate and volume. The description of rights is actually breaking it down by water right number. Who's the owner? What's the source? We'll step through it. So there's the water right number. This is just the first one. I'm not picking on B&B properties. It's just the first one, and it was a good example. So we have the name of the owner of record. Like I said, got to be specific that it's the owner of record that we have. And then the ownership interest. That the box is kind of long because there will sometimes be an ownership interest there on the right. This one didn't have it. Like if someone has 50% interest in it or 20%, it might show up there or will show up there. Then it just lists the type of right. So this one was established via an underground water claim, what that number of that underground water claim was, what quantity of water it's good for. So, 8 acre feet. In this case, it's a volume. List the priority date more specifically. So March 1902. And the source is a well. And then the point of diversion, this is where in space with the coordinate, with the PLSS, Public Land Survey System, coordinate system, where the well in this case is located. It could also be a source like a spring, or where they're diverting from a river. It doesn't have to be a well, but it's the point where they're pulling water from the system and where to find that using the PLSS coordinate system. And then it talks about uses. So benefit uses are the limit, measure, and basis of water rights in Utah. So we do list what is this water, what are the uses this water right is allowed to do. So it has every water right and its uses have water use group numbers. So there are water use groups and we assign a number to them. There might be multiple use groups. So we don't want to get too far in the weeds, but basically a water use group is if multiple water rights are contributing to the same field or the same use, they'll be in a group together potentially if they're contributing to the same thing. So this one only has one. It's a relatively simple one, but some rights may have more than one group if they're contributing to different groups. And we talk about the nature of the use, so that can be irrigation. In this case, it's a pretty simple one. This is just irrigation, the common one. There's also, of course, domestic use in houses, commercial use, livestock watering. We'll list them all here in this section. But like I said, this one only has irrigation, so only irrigation shows up here. Then we also list the period of use. So when in the year are you allowed to use this? For irrigation, it's usually April 1st to October 31st. That's our defined irrigation season that we've defined. Then the sole supply is how much is that right contributing to the use group. So to kind of bring that use group concept again, each water right in a group needs to consider, it contributes a certain amount to the group. And so that's where this is. So in this case, it's the only one in the group. So it's just going to be the same as the group total. It contributes the entire amount of the group, but sometimes you'll have groups with multiple rights and they'll all contribute enough to add up to the total. And then there's also the place of use. So of course there's the point of diversion that we just talked about. That's where water is pulled from the natural system. It's the well, it's the spring. But then where is that water actually used? It can be, usually it's near the POD, but it's not always. And so we do specify where is the place of use. And again, we use Public Land Survey, section, township, and ranges to define. So there we list which section, township, and range it's in. Then we list which quarter it's in. And well, basically, these are the quarter sections of it. And then these are the quarters. You gotta be familiar with PLS to kind of make sense of this, but it's basically where in the section, which quarter of the section is it being used in, and we mark an X on each one that it's being used in. And then we just, again, here we place of use acreage total. In this case, we're just listing where the acreage, there's 2 acres being used in this area. So pretty straightforward. Everyone's going to look a little different. Some rights have domestic, some rights have stock watering. This is the general layout of all of them in the description of water rights, and it's the longest section of the PD. All right, and then this is a different example. This is not the same water right, but that water right I showed you did not have this section on it, so I did pull a different one. There's some water rights also have this after the beneficial uses. Some water rights will also have an other comment section that'll explain a little bit more about that water right. Especially on our decree rights, we do have important notes in there. So yeah. Okay, and then moving on. So after the description of water rights, then talk about the forfeited rights. So I did mention a little bit earlier about forfeited rights. So Utah statute does have a clause in it about if you don't use a water right for a period of 7 years, it can be subject to forfeiture, and that's something we are looking for in the adjudication. And so this is where the rights that have been fully, we've gone out and seen that they're not being used. They're published on this list, and so there's not as much detail on it. It's really just the water right number, the owner of record, the point of diversion coordinates, and just the name of the source. So whether it's a well or a spring or a drain or whatever it may be, we keep it kind of simple. Yeah, so that's the forfeited rights section. I guess I'll just say if anybody's seen other PDs, I don't have a slide about it, but because it's not in here, but sometimes there will be an invalid rights section, which is similar. We won't talk in great detail about that, but just if anybody's wondering about that, they are explained in the preamble, but we don't have any here. So just in case anybody has seen that before, we don't have any in Provo North, just forfeited. Excuse me. All right, and then we're already on to the final section. So this is just we just call it the alphabetic index, just like, you know, textbooks, other reference material has an index in the back. It's just all the owners listed alphabetically, essentially. So all the owners of record are listed there. Yeah, it's alphabetical. And then it's just the source, the water right number, and what page to find it on. So pretty standard index. But it's a good place to look if you want to just look for your name and find where your water right is. You can look at the index, look what page it's on. All right. So that was the PD, the proposed determination. So alongside, you know, in tandem with the PD, we are also publishing hydrographic survey maps. So I had the link to them. I'll show it again at the end. But this is where we've mapped all the irrigation that we found during our field reviews of all these claims in the area. So this is just an example page, just page 8. There's 18 pages, but let me back up a little bit. So like any good map, got a north arrow, scale bar, pretty standard. Got a legend. So just for example, I think this one, that one's pretty gold mustard. This kind of mustard color, that's this legend entry here. Sorry, those online might not be able to see that. But that kind of mustard color, that's a lot of the blocks kind of in the middle. That's in the legend. You can see that in the legend, and that's in the legend entry. It'll mention number and that water use group number, so you know what right that block polygon is tied to. So we found irrigation in these areas. So there's a red one as well. Just as an example to kind of show you how to read this, there's a red one here. So it's also printed next to it as a label, but then you can look in the legend and see what that number is. I'm sorry, I should say the label is really just how much acreage it is. You can't really read it. It's not this isn't super high resolution, but then what water right numbers are actually contributing to this block is in the legend there. So you can double check what we mapped for you. You have irrigation on your right. And then that little inset map there, that's just kind of showing you the white box there is showing you where so this white box is this extent. So it's just showing you where in the book boundary, Provo North book boundary, where exactly. It shows all 18 little inset there. And then I kind of already explained this, but these hatched areas, these blocked off polygons, that's irrigated acreage. So you can look at the legend, see what water rights we're talking about there. So yeah. All righty. So that was kind of a quick rundown of everything. Determination, the hydrographic survey maps. So if you want to contact anybody further to discuss this, if you think of questions after this, you can contact me, Chris Stallard. There's my phone number, my email, and Chase, who's of course the assistant state engineer over the whole section. His information is also here. Feel free to contact us. There's also the general line at the bottom there. Feel free to take a picture. I see some people taking pictures. You can also find on our website our main line too, if you really need to get a hold of Adjudication, can't remember these. Okay, so then we kind of wrapped up the main part of the presentation here. So we'll move on to the Q&A. And again, there's the links for you, the PD link, the HS link, if you want to take a picture of that again. And I did emphasize again the objection date that we do need them to be in with the court by March 19th, 2025. And again, if you think of anything after this, feel free to contact Chase or myself or send an email to this address and we'll be happy to get back to you. But yeah, with that, I guess I'll open it up to questions if anybody has any right now. And I'll try to repeat the question for our online audience and for the recording if anybody does have one in the room here. If you have any questions that are really specific to your water right, feel free to come up to one of us and we can help you. But if you have any general questions, if not, that's fine. But yeah, go ahead.
Really kept track of all these things in detail.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was reading down and it says the amount we have, is that the amount? Did I know that that's the amount that was designated originally and someone has decided something off? Understand my question? So if it says two cubic feet per what?
Yeah, acre feet, what, yeah, volume number.
That's
Yeah.
there and it's not one of the ones that's being abandoned. That's what it was. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so let me repeat the question real quick, make sure, just for the audience online. You're wondering if what's printed for your water right, what's printed in this proposed determination book, if that's the full amount that it was originally entitled to when that right was founded. So the short answer is yes, but it depends a bit on if we investigated the right and we determined that some portion of it had not been used in 7 years, it could have been subject to partial forfeiture. That's the only thing I can think of. It should be listing what you're entitled to use and as long as it's been used, it should be the amount that you were originally entitled to on foundation of the right.
If it were in the forfeiture case, it would be listed, correct, the amount that is going to be taken from it?
No, not necessarily. So when we investigated it, we sent you a state engineer's recommendation and a memorandum that explained what we found in the field. If you didn't get that, yeah, we can show it to you. We can pull up your right and show you that. But yeah, no, unfortunately on the PD, we only show full forfeiture rights. We don't show these partial ones. So we try to explain that in the memo that we send to you. And when we did a field review, we hopefully talked about it with you. But it sounds like you, in your case, you might not have seen this. So we'd be happy to look that up for you and take a look. So yeah, thank you for the question. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, we can wrap it up there. And if you have any individual questions about your individual water rights, we've got computers here. We can help you and look it up for you real quick. So thanks everybody for coming. We really appreciate it. And thank you for your time. And we'll put this video on YouTube if you want to watch it again. And yeah, there's the links for you. So thanks again. Take care.